Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Twin Peaks: The Return, Part 3. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. Now, obviously, Parts 3 and 4 both went up at the same time. Part 4 is coming tomorrow. We're getting to that tomorrow, partly because, given how much time we spent on Parts 1 and 2 together, it was just easier to do them individually.
Plus, this way means Peter gets to watch them all twice still.
It does, yes, because I did watch this one twice, and basically the second viewing was the note run, as it were. And I do, not to scare you into the length of what this might end up being, but I actually have almost as many notes as I did for the first two.
I have not. I think I had 9 pages for the first two combined. I have six for this.
Yeah, I had 3 full pages. I've got 2.5 for this one. Maybe I'll just be more thorough. I don't know, but we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about it. Just a quick correction from last time. Previously on Twin Peaks reviews, if you will. Basically, at the end of the last one, end of part 2, we said that Ray was in the bar, or I said Ray was in the bar. No, that was bullshit. That wasn't him. It was a similar looking person, because I went back and checked. Someone mentioned it, and I went back and I looked at Ray in a scene earlier on, then I looked at that scene at the end, and I went, okay, they're different people, but they're both skinny white dudes.
It was amusing because I didn't think they were the same person as I watched it. But then, obviously, I was kind of ill at the time, as you can tell if you'd seen the review. And Peter had seen it twice, and he goes, "Oh, that was Ray." I was like, I guess it did look like him.
Do you know what the funniest thing was, though? Is I didn't think that the first time I watched it. It was the second time I watched it that I went, oh, that's Ray. I think that's Ray. We also didn't mention that there was a guy serving in the bar that looked like Jacques. There was a new Renault
Yeah.
in the play. We'll see how he comes into it later. But also worth mentioning, the guy watching the glass box, he wasn't never named in the episode, but his name was in the credits, if you happen to know who the actor was. His name is Sam.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned in this episode as well, admittedly.
It is mentioned in this one, so that undermines anything where we were like, oh, they didn't tell us his name.
But I someone said that before I watched the new one, so it was information at the time.
Fair enough. Just not in the
anymore.
episode, just in the credits.
Yeah, so, yeah, it just naturally never came up then. Episode 3, part 3, let's get into it. We started right where we left off. Cooper's still falling through space.
Yes.
He's falling through space, and he eventually lands in a balcony. After seeing a sort of cloud of pink.
It's like a purpley pinky gas, yeah.
Yeah, and then he lands in what I'm going to call the pink world, because everything's pink. And when I say pink, everything's got a pink tint to it, including the ocean. He looks out at the ocean, and it's like all pink, and it's proper. Well, I'm not going to say it's proper David Lynch, because when he goes inside the room in a minute, we're going to get to proper David Lynch. Right now, it's just intriguingly different.
You look at it and go, why this colour? Because it's like this purpley pink, and you're like, right, this is kind of close to, you know, the Red Room. It's kind of getting to like that sort of vibe in terms of colour. But it's not, it's different.
I would say we're getting further away from the Red Room, because we started in the Red Room.
Well, yeah, I just mean in terms of colour palette, it's quite close.
Oh, sure.
I don't mean we're moving towards it.
Yeah. So he goes in the room, and this is where things, like, this episode, this is kind of why I think a lot of people are saying it just feels like an 18-hour movie that's been split up, because it doesn't really seem to care about what feels like the start and the end of an episode. Outside of cutting to the bar to have a song at the end, it's it cuts into it, and it doesn't even take any time to get weird, because Cooper goes into this room. There's like one door on this balcony. He goes inside, and we have a woman whose eyes are covered up with more skin.
Yeah, it's kind of like she's just got no eyes.
Well, I would agree with that if it wasn't for the fact that she has like eyebrows that are kind of just randomly there and a weird angle. Like, it's almost like the skin's covered over later at some point. Like, she used to have eyes, perhaps.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
But the more interesting part of this scene is that everything's very sort of alter-stuttery. It's almost like you're trying to play a video game and the graphics card is struggling, right? But it's also going backwards. Like, it'll repeat little bits, and it's like,
and then it'll skip forward as well, every so often.
Yeah, it's sort of stuttering in time, and then it goes back and it goes forward, and it's going around. It's It's
but you do get these moments of clarity where even the color palette softens a little bit,
yeah,
and then everything runs normally, just for a little bit.
and much like the Red Room, which again tells us that we're kind of we're maybe not quite in the Black Lodge anymore, but we're on the peripheral of it, perhaps, is because it's like that in that when Cooper speaks, we hear it normally. He just speaks.
Yeah, it still sounds very distant though.
Distant, but you still make it out. It's still regular speak.
You can understand it, yeah. It's just it sounds far away.
Yeah. Whereas this woman tries to speak and she just makes like a noise. It's like
it's like they've got the dialogue. They're just cutting it though, like at the start of every syllable.
Yeah, it almost comes out like a yeah sort of noise. That's what it kind of felt like. So details in this scene. So there's a device in the wall, which when I first saw it, I thought it was like a safe or something like that. Like it was hard to tell what it was. Upon closer inspection, it's more like a circuit board that has.
Yeah,
like
it definitely looked electronic. I thought a safe seemed sort of thing to me as well, like it was some sort of safe puzzle almost as the lock.
Yeah, and also I want to know what the number 15. The number 15 was on it at this point.
At this point, yes.
Yeah, I was paying attention. Don't.
No. I'm just. But I wanted to mention the 15 is actually like etched into it. It's part of it. Like it's just like.
Oh
the rest
yeah,
of the
it's just like a
circuit
nameplate.
board.
It's not like a screen that says 15. It's like a nameplate that's on it. That's actually sort of chiseled in. It says 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course during this scene, this banging starts on the door. There's another door across because it's a fireplace. It's a couch and sort of homey, but obviously this weird stuttering that makes everything feel very Nightmare Fuel-esque. Kind of like Lynch does really well.
And obviously she's got no eyes.
She does, but she seems friendly. She is a guide of some kind, and then this banging in the door starts because Cooper, once he hears the banging, which is very scary, he looks up at the machine. And this thing in the wall, and he starts getting towards it, and the woman is like, "No, you don't." Like she's trying to stop him, she's trying to hold him back. You can't go. You cannot go there. To the point where he gets closer and she pushes him back, and he eventually relents. But he is like fascinated by this device. Like he's ready to go.
And obviously, while this banging's happening, he tries to talk to her, and she shushes him with finger to the lips.
Oh yeah, it's almost as soon as the banging starts, that she immediately like,
Yeah. Got to keep quiet. Don't want this to get us, sort of thing.
Something is not happy that he is here, and not happy that if he gets to that machine, perhaps.
Yeah, it's kind of like stop drawing attention.
Yes, but then because the banging's getting louder, she leads him up a ladder out the back of the room, and goddamn Lynch, they open the hatch at the top, and the stuttering's not there anymore. We're no stuttering. We're also in space. We're on a floating metal box in space. Not really space because he can breathe and stuff, but that's fine because we're not really in space.
It's the same space he was falling through.
Essentially, yeah. But again, it ties back into the whole cosmic nature, everything. You remember when Briggs, and we'll get to Briggs in a minute, but Briggs talking about messages coming from the stars and things like that, and how in some way does the Lodge connect to space? Is it like, does it not care about space in the same way that we do in the real world? Like,
well, we know it doesn't care about time in the same way.
Exactly.
So why should it care about space?
So maybe it encompasses, sure, there's a space on Earth where there's like an entrance to it, but is there a space on every planet where there's an entrance to it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and presumably in space. So there's like almost like bell-shaped kind of thing at the top. It's not actually a bell, but that's what the shape was.
It's I referred to it as a bell in my notes because I didn't know what else to call it.
And the woman with no eyes goes round, and there's a switch, there's a big lever, and she flips the switch, and it like makes a kind of electrocution noise, and it seems to hurt her, but it also stops the banging. Whatever's banging is affected by this.
Yes.
And so is she. And then she falls into space.
And vanishes.
So I want to analyse this a bit, but I want to wait until I've had the whole scene, because I feel like once you have all the pieces, you can maybe start to make sense of it.
Yeah.
But this is when Cooper looks down into space, and he sees a giant floating head. It took me a second, but it's Major Briggs.
It is, yes.
And he says Blue Rose.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because I actually thought he was going to say Blue Book when he started his sentence, because of Project Blue Book from the 60s and stuff that he mentioned in the show. But Blue Rose, if you remember, that was like Gordon Cole's, like he has these Blue Rose cases, and it was one of the signs that he had in Fire Walk with Me for the agent.
Yeah, it was the supernatural cases
Yeah.
basically.
Um, so Cooper, after seeing this, he gets down into back into the room, but the room's changed. It's a different color
Just
palette.
just while we're on the top of the room, that bit as he's climbing down, I noticed in the bell as he's climbing down, there's these dints in it, and
Yeah.
it kind of looks like a face. I don't know if you noticed that.
I noticed the dents. I didn't notice it looked like a face.
There's two for an eyes and then one for a mouth.
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
was like, is the bell watching?
But he goes back down to the room, and things have changed. The color palette's changed. There's a blue rose on the table, which I only
Yes.
noticed in the second time. But there's a blue rose on the table. There is more of a sort of blue. And the couch is blue now. It's playing in real time. Like the stuttering's gone.
It's gone, yeah.
And there's another woman there, a regular woman, and it's not even it's not the same woman with eyes because the other woman was Asian. This woman's a white woman with sort of a short bobbed
Both
hair.
dressed in red though.
Both dressed in red, and she now this is where it becomes more like the Black Lodge, because when she speaks it's exactly like the Black Lodge, where it's it's the recorded backwards, played forward, sounds creepy, all that kind of thing. So she looks at her watch, and it says 2:53, which in and of itself doesn't mean much. It means a bit more in a minute.
Yeah.
But she looks at her watch. She's like, "Okay, it's time." The device in the wall with the number, it's not actually a safe, but we're calling it the safe because it kind of has like a circle in the middle and it's got that kind of.
Yeah.
But the number on that's changed to a 3.
I also noticed, whereas before the 15, let's say, was like etched into it, it was like carved into it. This 3 almost looks like someone's just stuck a label over the top. Like it's like a white piece of paper almost that's stuck over the top that says 3 on it, like you'd get on a door sign in a hotel or something.
Well, it's interesting you use that too.
I know, there is a reason I use that.
It's interesting you specifically use that as an example. So the woman says, when you get there, you will already be there.
Yes.
Which is obviously the most interesting thing she says, other than the fact that the banging starts again. As he gets close to the device again, the banging starts again. And she says, "You have to hurry, my mother is coming." Mother. Very interesting. But it's also during this, as he starts to go towards the device, we actually cut outside this. We cut to a Doppelkoop in the car, driving along the road that we seen him in from the last episode. And we see like I think it's the lighter in the car. You hear this buzzing coming from it, like, and the same buzzing's happening in the thing, and it's like, oh, is this him like going to escape? Like, is maybe what I'm thinking at this point.
It makes a point of showing us the time on the dashboard,
which
clock
is this,
2:53.
Same as the women's watch. Makes sense. And then Doppelkoop sees a red curtain in front of him. Like, he crashes the car.
Yeah, he's his vision's going all fuzzy.
Yeah.
He looks like he's going to pass out, and then, like I say, he sees a red curtain and the car crashes.
Yeah. And it's actually after the car crashes, the red curtain appears, and he's sort of like, he's sitting there all disorientated as this is going on, and the banging's starting, and the woman's like, "No, you need to go quick," which is the complete opposite of the other woman. This woman's like, no, you need to go now, quick, well, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. So I think my reading of this whole scene, because this is the first 20 minutes, is this big sort of falling through space, purple world, room with stuttering, outside in space, back in the room. This whole thing is like a good 15-20 minutes.
There's so little dialogue in this whole opening
section.
Is,
yeah. There's so much of the episode takes place before we get to dialogue. Now, obviously, what we get, I feel like I want to keep going and talk about Dougie, because it kind of ties into that as well, but so I feel like, because Laura said, and they would actually make a point of pointing this out as well, because Laura said in the last episode, you can go now, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like, and then we find out Dougie, who, and we'll talk about this more when we get to his scenes, but he is like manufactured as, because the arm also said, actually that's one of the other corrections I forgot to mention, is in Fire Walk With Me, it's actually the man from the other place, the little guy, who refers to himself as the arm. So this is an evolution of him,
Oh, okay.
Specifically. But then it makes me wonder, was he the cut-off arm to begin with?
Yeah.
Possible.
No,
David Lynch.
It
could be.
still possible.
Perfectly possible. But so the way I see this is that forces in the lodge, maybe the White Lodge, maybe good people in the Black Lodge, want him to get out and deal with Bob. They want him to do that. So they're trying to get him out. But there's obviously forces in the Black Lodge that think this is breaking the rules. The mother, if you will. And I think the mother's not happy that they're cheating. And that's essentially what they've done here, is they're cheating to get him out. Now, obviously, it's not all hunky-dory and perfect, because once we see that once Cooper does get out, he doesn't have his memory, he's disorientated, he's, completely...
Yeah, he just repeats what people said.
Like, he's not there. Like, wakey,
Yeah.
Coop,
His body's there, but his mind's not.
Yeah, and I wonder if, there'll be, like, a trigger moment at some point when, like, we just see him smile and the thumb comes up and he's like, I'm back.
That'll be when he's given a cup of coffee.
And maybe a donut. Some cherry pie. Maybe that'll snap him out of it. But, like, so... I mean... So the woman with no eyes and the sort of sacrifice of dealing with trying to get the mother away, like, I don't know how to specifically read that.
No, I assume she's another daughter, in the sense that the second one we get is a daughter of this thing. 'Cause obviously they're both wearing red. They both have similar roles where they guard this room. Well, I say guard. They live in this room.
This is why I sort of see this as being on the edge of the lodge, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, they've travelled them out to the brink of it, and then, like, they forced their way out. Like, they've got this, which turns out to be the outlet. Like, it comes out the outlet on the other side. They're using electromagnetics and stuff and to transport through, which leads to some sort of almost silly looking sort of imagery of Cooper being sucked through this hole and then his shoes just dropping, and that's a thing. Yep. But I think one thing that I do want to point out here is the face of Briggs saying Blue Rose. Now, admittedly, I don't believe he ever said Blue Rose back in the day, but I'm wondering if the whole idea that they're monitoring for signals, in the original show, like, was there also things being sent out? Is the reason why his face is appearing here is because it's almost like an echo of, like, a message that went out at some point back then.
That's not a bad shout.
It was just, like, that was my thought process with it, but I got that. But the whole idea of the daughters, they seem to be on Cooper's side, at the very least, both of them. The first one protects him and says not right now, and then the second one makes sure he gets out in time. Like, they both seem to be on the side of him getting out and bringing Bob back. And it's interesting because it makes me think that this mother character, like, is this the leader of the lodge? Is this, for lack of a better word, Satan, or is it an enforcer of the lodge that's there to keep order? Like, and if so, what is mother?
That is a good question. I think it's interesting they call it mother, because I don't know if that means literally, like, oh, this is their mother, as far as they're concerned, or is it more, is there a mother and a father of the lodge, and like they're the heads, or maybe the father is the head of the White Lodge.
Possibly, I don't know. It's hard to say, but clearly it seems like Laura's in on it. Like, that's why Laura said to him last episode, like, you can go now. It feels like the motions are in place for this. And so he goes through the sucker. But it's obviously, as this is going down, we're introduced to Dougie, who is also played by Kel MacLachlan, and he wakes up. He's with a prostitute named Jade.
I think it's also interesting. This actually cuts away from Doppelkoop, while he's kind of struggling to breathe after this car's crash.
Yeah, I read that specifically as he knows that Cooper's trying to get out, and he's making sure he doesn't go in. Like, he's stopping it from he's stopping the swap from happening with him.
It was the way it cut from him struggling to breathe to Dougie, and then it cuts back again at a certain key moment, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, Dougie's with a person named Jade, and they've just finished their deal. They're in, like, a new house that's not been sold yet. They're in, like, a sort of real estate sort of development area, and she goes to shower, and he's left on his own. Now, a couple of key points, of course. He's wearing the ring from Fire Walk With Me, the green ring. Yeah. And so obviously I noticed that. That's very interesting. He also mentions that his arm's dead. He can't move his arm. Something's weird there. And I'm like,
I am obviously, mine immediately goes to the one-armed man. I was wondering, is he a vessel for him for some reason?
Obviously, I mean, the following scene kind of shoots that in the...
It did, but at that point I was like, okay, is he acting as his vessel?
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say, so... Yeah, now he obviously he starts to, like, crawl. He starts to overcome with, like, pain and disorientation, and he eventually vomits. Actually, if I have one complaint about the episode to be critical, it's that I do think the Doppelkoop, who also vomits around this same time, his vomit is so over the top and silly that it felt a bit goofy to me.
I get that, but I thought it wasn't just that it was over the top. It was, like, filled with this. It was black.
And yellow.
And yeah. Obviously, there's yellow as well, but there was like all this black in it, and it was the idea that no, this is coming. This is like almost like poison. Whatever's going on, this is literally killing him.
Yeah, no.
So that's why I didn't say it felt that goofy for me.
Yeah, it was just that one moment. It was just as he was holding it in, it was all puking out. I was like, okay, this is just a little bit in the silly. So whereas normally when Lynch is doing his stuff, it's more like, oh man, this is intriguing, this is mysterious, or it's this or it's that. And that one moment just stood out to me as being a little bit goofy. But so no, the red curtain appears in front of him as well, and he vanishes and he appears in the lodge. He's in the seat and he looks up, and the one-armed man is standing there looking at him, and he says, "Someone manufactured you for a purpose, but now I think that's been fulfilled." And you get the sense that the forces in the Black Lodge, the good forces that want Cooper to deal with this, made a doppelganger of their own so that Cooper could swap with him. Now, I've got a feeling it's only temporary, like it's not permanent.
It's interesting, because I was thinking of another possibility.
Mm-hmm.
The other possibility that this was Bob had manufactured him, and it was the idea that he'll go in his place. That's why he was still sick, because he was linked to this Dougie, and it was the idea that they're still trying to take him, but this was his plan, where send him instead, and he gets to stay.
I like it. No, that's not bad.
And that's why our Cooper still comes back, because the lodge, the whole thing was you can go when the other one comes back, but one has come back, so one gets to go.
Yeah, I think you could look at it both ways. I think right now,
you can, yeah.
I think right now there's not enough to say which one of us had the right idea, but I think both work.
They do, which is always great when that's a possibility, isn't it?
The reason why my mind went there, because I really felt like these the daughters, if we're going to call them that, were trying to help Cooper get out. Laura was trying to help him get out. Everyone seemed to be trying to help him get out, so they could fix this. Which is why and the other reason why my mind went there is because once Dougie's in the chair, he turns to black smoke, his arm shrinks and the ring falls off, and then he even one-armed man has to shield his eyes when this flash of light happens, when he's turning into this gold ball. And then I thought the gold ball looked very similar in material to the gold of the ring, which might not mean anything, but I'm looking for clues here.
Yeah. There was a few things, obviously, for me, to add credence to your idea, perhaps.
Yeah.
When Cooper comes out the outlet, it's kind of this black smoke that comes out first. That's very similar to the effect that we had of his head.
Yeah. So Cooper's there. He's in his suit. He's in his own clothes, but his shoes have been left behind. Amusingly, Jade comes out and she's like, "Whoa, this is weird. What's happening? Were you wearing a wig? Did you get a haircut? You got a suit? What's happened here?"
I like how she barely questions it though. Really, she's like, "Yeah, whatever."
Yeah, I think she's just wanting to get her John out here, and because obviously it seems like she's got the access to the house. Like she knows someone who's given her keys or whatever. And she's rushing him out, and we get this whole beat for beat thing that plays out where he comes out without his shoes, and she has to go and get his shoes, and then he follows her in, and he follows her back out, and she has to physically put the shoes on because he's not quite all there. But yeah, so on, I'm at page 2 of my notes. Thank you. So we get the shoes. So she finds something in his pocket. She's looking for his keys for his car, and she finds his room key for the Great Northern, which I thought was fun. But obviously more notable is the number on that room key.
Yes, 315.
315. Of course, the combination of the two numbers we had on the vault, and it makes me, as I say, vault. I'm calling it a vault because I don't know what else to call it.
I think this is something that anyone listening, we're just gonna call it this, and you know what we're talking about. But we don't necessarily mean it is that. Yeah,
the other side of the outlet, I guess. But no, that was really exciting. I still get his key in his pocket from all these years ago. The key for the hotel room's still in there. But it's fascinating. So, but yeah. So as they're leaving, a pair of assassins show up. One sort of in the outskirts of this little house and estate, and the other one's shows up to the house, and they're there to kill Dougie. And it makes me wonder, what's Dougie been up to before he's been here? Has Doppelkoop been using him for something? If he is a creation of Doppelkoop rather than the people from the lodge, I don't know. But they want to kill him, and it's just fate almost that he it ducks down as they're leaving.
I did almost wonder in terms of the assassins. Obviously, we know there was the hit on Doppelkoop from last episode.
Yes.
I wonder if maybe they just thought it was him.
Yeah, they might. Yeah, they might do. Yeah, that's a good point.
So just as a possibility for that.
Yeah, no, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Also, really important little note here: as they're leaving the street, we see the street sign, the street they're
Sycamore Street.
Sycamore Street. And of course, the entrance to the Black Lodge in Twin Peaks is surrounded by sycamore trees.
Yes.
And I feel like if we're going with the whole this is a loophole, like, is that also part of the loophole? Like, oh, it's Sycamore Street. Like, he's surrounded by sycamore.
Yeah.
And
it's like that's part of the rules for the entrance almost.
Yeah.
Like it can have an entrance anywhere, but it's got to be the sycamores that are the key.
And
because obviously there was the song that was about the sycamores as well.
Yeah, it's just all adding up to a loophole for me. Like, that's like.
No, I agree. It's just whose loophole is it?
Well, yeah, that's fair. But certainly pointed that out. So also, we have a sort of random thing here. So we see the assassins tag Dougie's car, and they're in Nevada because all the license plates are Nevada. And obviously he goes to a casino later, so obviously it makes sense that they're maybe in Vegas, when there's desert and whatnot. But we cut to this neighbour across the street, who I'm referring to as the junkie, because she looks like a junkie, and she's got a son who's sort of eating and staring out the window and watching from afar. And the only thing she says is she keeps saying, she says it a few times, the number, she shouts out sort of slowly, 119.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to start to be hard to keep all track of all these, because we're starting at 430 from the start of the first one, remember?
430, we've now got 15, 3, 315.
Yeah. I feel like the 315 might be a closed loop. We might have already wrapped up.
We might have done,
yeah.
But you can't be too sure.
Yeah, but 119, 119.
Part of me wonders, obviously, there's the whole thing with, especially with the lodges, things play backwards. But, they're not quite backwards.
911.
Yeah, maybe it's like emergency, he's out.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
In fact, if we're going with your idea that Doppelkoop set him up to take his place so that he wouldn't have to go back, like, is that who this warning's for? Is it 911 to Doppelkoop?
That's possible.
I don't know. But yeah, Highway Patrol come by and they find Doppelkoop in his car, and they notice the awful smell, and that's pretty much the scene. Obviously, it's more important later, but
yeah.
That scene plays out there. Then we cut to Twin Peaks. We cut to Andy, Lucy, and Hawk, and they're looking at all the Cooper files, or everything related to that.
Before we get to looking at the files, we have to talk with the greatest door sign of all time.
Hawk hangs up a sign with a donut on it.
It says donut, and it's a picture of a donut, and then underneath is disturb. It's just amazing.
Do not disturb. Yes, very, very good, very good. So they're in the conference room and they're looking over all the files. They're looking for what's missing. So it's a very sort of it's a comedy scene because they're all sitting in silence and they every so often Hawk's like, we need to think of what's missing. If it's not here, then it's missing. And Andy's like, this is everything that's here. And he's like, let's sit down. And then they're both already sitting there, like, let me sit down. And it was a very funny scene. It plays out with a very sort of slow comic timing.
It does. There's some serious things, though. Obviously, like Hawk says, if it's not here, then how do we know it's missing? And I think I think
no, sure. I think there's a point to it, but I still think it's pretty funny.
It is funny as well.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe there's some hidden truths in the comedy.
Even because he's like, all right, it's my heritage. Something to do with my heritage. We'll find what it is. And then Lucy just turns around and goes, Hawk, you're an Indian. Yes, Lucy.
Yes, Lucy.
Yeah, and then she starts panicking because she looks like this box of chocolates, these bunny chocolates, which were evidence, part of the case. And she's like, oh, I know what it is. It was one of these chocolate bunnies. I ate it. And she's like, it was a remedy. I heard that. Was that indigenous people? Hawk, do your people use chocolate as a remedy for gas?
The best part for me was when she says, do they have anything to do with your heritage? And he legitimately sits there and thinks about it for a good, 7 or 8 seconds. He thinks really hard and he's like, no, I don't think so.
Do bunnies
he's properly serious?
Do bunnies and or chocolate have anything to do with Native Americans? And then he's like, because Andy keeps talking about the bunnies and he's like, it's not about the bunnies. And then there's like a moment of silence and he's like, is it about the bunny?
And then another moment, it's like,
no,
it's not about the bunny.
It's not about the bunny. And the fact is, I think if I was the one cutting that scene, right, I'd have cut it after, is it about the bunny? I feel like that's the comedy line to like cut out on. But Lynch is like, no, we're going for another round.
I'm getting another one out of this.
Because Hulk's such a serious guy compared to Andy that him sitting there going, is it about the bunny? Is it really funny?
I do think it's made funnier by the fact that you then have him seriously contemplating it, going,
yeah,
no,
it's not about the bunny. Then again, this is Twin Peaks. It wouldn't shock me if it does turn out to be the bunny.
The bunny is everything.
Alright, other scene in Twin Peaks, we go back to Jacoby, who's got his shovels. He's got 5 shovels, and he's painting them. It's a very slow scene of him just slowly spray painting his shovels gold. He's got 5 shovels. He's got a really... Do you know what? He's got a really specific apparatus just to paint these shovels, where he's got 2 pedals. They're almost like makeshift guitar pedals that he's modified to work with this, and it turns them around, and he's... I don't know why he needs 5 gold shovels. You know, people tell us, is there symbolism with 5 gold shovels?
I mean, I thought it was interesting they were gold. Is it because obviously we had the gold ball,
gold ring. Even the table that the one-armed man puts it on is a big gold like seashell.
It's a gold ornate thing, yeah. But then you have like the black marble on the top. It's kind of like an altar almost.
Yeah. Do you know what I love about that? Actually, this is just a weird thing to talk about, but I love that he puts the ring in the middle of the table and it's perfectly in the middle of the frame. And I just wonder how many takes it took to just because it's a shallow depth of field shot. He has to be pretty accurate with that ring going down, and I just wonder how many takes it took to...
I mean, there's definitely a little marker there.
You think?
Yeah,
I don't know, I couldn't see any. I was looking for it, especially in the second viewing. I was like, how did he nail that mark?
I mean, I'm convinced that there was a marker there.
Do you think it was a little green marker they CG'd out later?
Quite possibly. I wouldn't be surprised.
That's fair.
Yeah, you got to save time sometimes.
So yeah, that was pretty much it. He's painting his gold shovels. I'm sure there's something there. Maybe that'll become more relevant as time goes on.
Well, yeah, because obviously we got that's twice now we've cut to him with these shovels. There's got to be something important. Why 5? Who are the 5 for?
And why does he know about this? If this is relating to the overall mystery of what's going on, how does he know about it?
Yeah, how is he involved?
And if it's not related to the overall mystery, then how does it come into play?
Yeah, because it has to. I think like that's something we've kind of mentioned in the first two. Everything this time feels so tight and focused and relevant that I can't think that anything's just there to be quirky anymore. Like I feel like everything's going to play in somehow, unless it's a red herring.
Chocolate bunny.
Okay, but that's its own little quirky comedy scene. But this is something we've cut to multiple times.
No, obviously, I'm just cracking a joke. Obviously, the chocolate bunny thing, it's about them looking for what they're actually looking for. The chocolate bunny's just them having a thought process. Yeah. That said, though, chocolate bunny's coming back. Coming back style.
All we need now is chocolate bunnies on a donut.
Aye.
The donuts are the key.
Do you know
That's what's missing.
Do you know what the thing is, though? They're in the box. We never actually got to see the donuts. Lynch has been a cock tease with those donuts. He knows we're waiting for that shot of all the donuts.
He does know it's going to be a glorious moment, isn't it? That he's saving them for Coop.
That's what it feels like. It feels like we're saving a lot of those little things for when Cooper's kind of back to being Cooper.
It really does feel like that,
yeah. But yeah, so after this, we come back to Cooper. He's in the car. Jade's dropping him off at the casino, and she tries to... She's like, all right, I see that you're kind of... messed up. Here's $5, call for help. And then, she says you can get out now, and that's when he sort of thinks back to... Has a little memory of Laura saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And then he has this thing where he's getting into the casino, and he's obviously moving very slow. He's kind of shuffling along, kind of unsure of himself. He gets stuck in the revolving door, and I thought that was a really nice little touch of symbolism. The idea that he's stuck in the process of leaving. He's not quite here yet. He's in the middle of it.
I thought it was interesting, it's a revolving door as well, because obviously he's revolved between our world and the lodge. It's especially with the stuff that we had at the start of this one.
I would go even one step further. I'd say that the revolving door works because one had to come in as he came out. So it's literally a revolving sort of Cooper, as it were.
No, you're right.
Just simple little thing. And I just like the awkwardness of the security guard who's in the front, just sort of looking back and going, does he need help? And kind of thing.
He waits really long though, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. He can tell he's like, he seems a bit weird. I don't really want to talk to him.
Yeah.
You kind of get that feeling on him. So he's in a casino, and I actually have less notes for this because it's pretty... He goes up to the woman, he gets some change, wants to call for help, and she thinks he wants to play a game, gives him some quarters, and then, and here's where I think, again, coming back to people in the Red Lodge want to help him. Or the Red Lodge, sorry, the Black Lodge. You know why I said that, Red Room.
I know why I said that, yeah.
Red Room, Black Lodge. And you get the sense that they're guiding him. And I don't know, my inkling here is that they're guiding him because if they make a commotion, like if he starts winning all these slot machines, people will find him and he'll get help. Because it'll become a thing. It'll become where people are going to like go, this is really mysterious that he keeps winning all these machines. Who is this guy? And then they're going to make calls to authorities, and that'll eventually lead to someone finding him that knows him.
Yeah, obviously the more direct route was maybe they didn't realise how fractured his mind was, and they were like, "Look, you haven't got anything on you. Here."
That was the second thought. Yeah, it's literally he needs money. Let's just give him a really easy option to get lots of money.
Just get him some money so we can get to Twin Peaks.
Yeah. But he doesn't necessarily know that he needs to go there yet, so I'm curious to see how he doesn't.
That's why I don't know. Are they aware of how fractured his mind is, or are they like you say? It could be the way that they know, and they know he needs help, so that's why they're making sure that he does this. Yeah,
they're making sure he gets found because eventually, FBI or whoever are going to come to him because they're going to hear of him. They're going to hear of this incident somehow, or it could just literally be the money.
Could be.
I'm more inclined to go with the first one, just because I feel like the money thing feels really.
No, I agree.
Simple, I guess.
I think for me, a little bit of it would work a little bit better if it's not that if they don't realize that his mind's broken, because it stops them being this all-knowing. Like they can see things physically and they know things, but they can't know someone's mind. They can't see into their mind and realize how broken that he is.
I mean, maybe they can see it now, though.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like if they are watching, maybe they can see that, all right, he needs help.
Yeah.
And acts that way. And if Mother doesn't want this, is Father the one who's trying to help? Is there a struggle like going on in the lodges right now? One's trying to help him. I don't know. But then I think, like, even the person who runs the lodge, if they are evil or whatever, surely they want Bob back. They're pissed that Bob has got out. Somehow,
it's interesting. We're assuming that someone does run the lodge and not like this is someone is in charge of this rather than it just being something that exists.
Well, I say run. I mean, I also said it could just be like an enforcer kind of idea, or someone else who cares about the lodge inside. Like that, it could be those options. I think the obvious thing to jump to is like a leader or.
No, I agree. And that's where my mind went as well. But I just think it's interesting that we've both gone to that rather than. We've given this thing organization, whereas it hasn't seemed to have had any up to this point.
Yeah, obviously it's a very surreal organization, but I feel like there is at least some kind of structure in there. Or even if it's just a case of one of the oldest like inhabitants becomes the like sort of Black Lodge person. I don't know.
That could be.
Maybe we'll get more hints of that as time goes on. Obviously some funny stuff here. So basically he sees like a little red room portal above like a machine. He goes and plays it. He went to see someone else play a machine first. Again, the idea that he's copying other actions. And the guy says hello as he wins. So every time Cooper, pulls the arm, he's like hello. And I've already seen that gift, by the way. Like, the gif of him going, hello, is already over the place.
Of course it is.
Yeah. But, so he does it once, he wins, and, the alarm goes off, to say that he's won. And then he does it again, and this little old woman's, like, pissed at him and gives him the finger when he tries to go to the machine near her, next to her.
Well, it's not that he tries to go near it, he points to it. I'm not sure he's trying to, because he never makes a move to walk towards it.
Oh, okay, yes, fair.
I felt like maybe he was pointing at it, going, "Hey, try that one." Like he was giving her advice rather than. And
she gives him the finger, and then when he wanders off after the the employee comes up and says, "Oh, you've won thousands of dollars and
28,400."
Just in case.
I'm writing down numbers.
Yeah, just in case it's important. Fair enough. 28,400, and he wanders off, and she almost steals his money. She's going to go for it, and then she notices the camera, and she gives that the finger as well. So I'm like, oh, you bastard, you caught me. Damn it. But then he plays another machine, the alarm goes off again, and she's like, I'm trying this. And then she wins, and she's all happy.
She's very happy.
And I wonder if there's just like a simple like bit of symbolism here where Cooper's going to bring the good. Like, now that he's out, even if it's accidental, the forces of good are travelling with Cooper, and this first person's already benefited from it.
Yeah, is it a question of good or is it a question of almost luck? Like, is he controlling luck? Because
Eh,
these slot machines are kind of luck to a degree.
yeah, they are. I almost took it again as like people from the Black Lodge like interfering.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Again, that's a question. Are they making it so they're the ones on payout, or are some of these machines actually on a payout? And he's like, and they're going, just try this one.
yeah, are they aware? It feels like there's too many because at one point he looks across the room and you can see like a good dozen of them like have the
Yeah,
little
yeah,
portals,
yeah. That's
and
true.
it feels like too many. So I feel like they're actually nudging things in the right direction,
Mm.
if you will.
Which is why I was considering if it's like luck, fortune. Like, do they rather than influence effects directly, can they just make him lucky?
But I feel like they're just flat out telling him which ones to go to. I feel like that's less luck and more.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Because it's not like he almost wins a couple of them. It's like it's every time. At least every time we see, no,
Yes,
straight
yeah,
win.
yeah. You're right.
So that's how I was looking at it. But yeah, so that's kind of where we end with Cooper, and that's we're getting towards the end of the episode now, and we cut to the FBI. We cut to the FBI offices, and we're introduced to obviously Gordon's there.
Yep.
Albert's there. Obviously, bittersweet to see Albert because Miguel Ferrer died recently.
Yeah, I learned the same from obviously we have the in memory of at the end of the credits. Did you catch who it was this
I
time?
actually didn't. I wasn't paying attention.
We had guy played Briggs.
Oh, Major Briggs. Yeah, that makes
Yeah, yeah.
sense.
But
Yeah.
I didn't realize he'd died.
I hadn't actually either, but I did notice. I had IMDb up. I always have IMDb up on the page for the episode, just in case I need a name, then I forget it.
Yeah.
And I noticed it said archive footage next, because obviously we see his face
Yeah, yeah.
in space. It's nice that they sort of snuck him in though in that way. So even the ones who have passed on, they'll be
It's like
honoured
they're
in some
still
way.
part of this legacy.
Because we got that clip of Bob in the first episode from the old show as well.
Yeah.
And it's just this idea that they're still part of the family. Although I've got a funny feeling Don is not going to be mentioned in any way, shape, or form, but we'll see.
We'll see about that. Maybe when we get to Ben.
Yeah. We also have FBI agent Tammy. I actually had her written further down because she actually doesn't get her name until because we start off with another case before she
Yeah, yeah.
comes into it. But so the case we start off with I'm sure is going to be relevant somehow.
Yeah,
some way.
I was like, is this important or is this just saying
A weird
like,
extra thing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this just going, no, look, they're busy with other things. Or is it, no, this is going to be important.
We get a lot of details though for us to just be.
We do, don't we?
So, right, so a man apparently has murdered his wife, but he says that he knows who did it. It definitely wasn't him. He claims his innocence, but he can't tell them who had done it because that's a matter of national security.
It does sound like this man is a congressman.
Yeah. I wrote that down somewhere else actually, as it became clear. Because they mentioned that I think at the end of the scene. Because obviously I was writing things down as they were saying it, and then it tied back in at the end. Also, it seems like this happened in Georgetown because his home was in Georgetown, and he said they have clues. Basically, one of their agents got note that there was clues left in his garden which pointed to the identity of the killer. Right.
Yes.
The clues are as follows: two photographs of females in bikinis. One is just a solo woman on her own. She's a blonde.
The first one actually looks like this is like a model. Whereas the second one looks like it's just, no, this is two women sunbathing.
Yeah, the second one's two females, and they're smiling at the camera, but that's another point. There's another photo of a little boy, and it looks like a sort of old-timey, it almost looks like a sort of kid from World War II. He's got like an old kind of scout uniform on. It may not actually be from that time period, but that was the kind of outfit that he had on. A pair of pliers, what the hell's that? Oh, SMG, a gun. There's a
the
submachine
gun
gun.
had with a silencer, I believe.
My M had an extra curve, and I was like,
it's alright, I was wondering what because I wrote them down in order, and I was like, what the hell is that second one? I got P, and I don't know what I put after that, but it was pliers.
Yeah, and then there's a jar of pebbles.
Little white pebbles.
Little pebbles. Because for a second I was like, is that a candy or something? But
I was like,
pebbles.
is it candy? Marbles? Yeah. But no, I think they're little white pebbles.
Little white pebbles. Don't ask us to decipher these clues. I have no idea what they mean.
The gun is the one that is the most obvious. So that's the one I discount first.
The murder weapon, or it's nothing. And if I was going to try and somehow read it, the man was tempted by an attractive woman, and it cut into his life. Hence the pliers, and the woman in his life would be his daughters maybe. made him think back to his past. So it's like an old childhood friend who's grown up and entered his. I don't know.
I was wondering, maybe the sunbathing women, because that was just a regular picture. Maybe one of those was his wife
Or daughter.
or daughter.
We don't know his age, so I mean.
Well, yeah, we don't, which is why I was going right. Maybe one of those is his wife.
And then... Congressman makes me think older, I guess. So I'm thinking daughter.
Yeah, okay. And then I was going right. Is the model like? Is this who is cheating on them with? Because
Temptation.
yeah. Like, obviously, he's in a position of power.
Okay, if we're going down this path, to try to analyse this, and we're thinking, okay, he was tempted by another woman, this model. Even if it wasn't the model in the photograph, even if it just represents that he was tempted by, like, an attractive woman, does this somehow relate, or at least thematically link back to Cooper and Wyndham Earl and his wife, and how Cooper fell for his wife, and then the idea that the Wyndham Earl character is the one who killed the wife in this sense?
Yeah, okay. It's interesting.
I don't know,
I mean, I was thinking, okay, is the order they're showing me these in important? But then I'm discounting that because they just found them in the garden. This is the order they've happened to place them on the table.
Yeah. It doesn't say that the man put them in this order. It just...
Yeah. Obviously, the pliers maybe literally so it was the model, then pliers, and then the sunbathing women. So I was like, right. So is the model pulling him away from this other woman?
That works. I can't explain the pebbles though.
No, the pebbles where I get stuck. So the model is pulling away from the women and the children, the child.
Oh, wait,
so he's
and
pulling them away from his family.
The gun. The first part is put his wife in the lane of fire.
Yeah. The pebbles.
I don't know the significance of the pebbles.
That's where it throws me. I can't get that one.
But maybe we'll get that later. Maybe we'll get more clues and we can...
I feel like we've probably spent far too long on this, which is going to be completely irrelevant.
All the pieces matter. All right, so then most of the team leave the room and we're introduced to Agent Tammy. And yes. Tammy, I recognised her and I looked her up just to see if I knew her from anything. It turns out I didn't, but she's a musician who's worked with David Lynch, because David Lynch does a lot of music stuff now, and she's a singer who's worked with him recently, so he gave it a part. So that's a bit of trivia for you, more rather than anything in the show. But she basically goes over the stuff we see in episode 1 with the last box and the victims. Talk about finding the bodies, how there's no fingerprints. They have some of the footage from the cameras. Apparently, every so often there'd be like a still frame of something. Like there would occasionally be something recorded. But just before they died, they got a glimpse of what we saw. Although she says that immediately after the camera sees it, it went away. Whereas, of course, we've seen...
Yeah, and she also says it was only caught on the one camera, not any of the others. I also want to point out, they're definitely both dead.
Oh, so yeah.
Anything I said about, maybe that was her.
Oh, yeah, because we see both their faces are completely missing. Like they're
the top half of their heads are gone. Yeah. I was like, right, it's definitely two of them there. Disregard anything I was speculating last time.
Yeah, they're dead. DEAD, completely dead.
Look, I hadn't seen bodies at the time. In the last episode, so it was fair speculation, but they're dead.
I don't know. I think I argued with you because they looked like they were dying pretty severely.
They did look like they were dying, but I just put it out there.
That's fair. That's fair. So she goes over the incident, mentions that there's no evidence, but she talks about this, and obviously they see the thing, like, Gordon's like, Jesus, and he's like, just reacting as they do. And so the idea the FBI knows about this, they're aware of it, brings it back in for us, reminds us of it.
I thought what was particularly interesting about this, though, was what they didn't see.
Cooper.
Yes, exactly. So they saw this frame of this other thing later on in the day, but they never saw the Cooper stuff.
But again, they only saw one glimpse of it, not the whole thing, and only on one camera, which makes me think... like, when something comes in the box, like, we can see it with our eyes if we're there, right? Because we're there. But the idea that it's on, like, a certain visual frequency... that
maybe it just doesn't record.
That only one camera can get it from a specific angle, because that's, like, where the light's, like, bending kind of thing.
Yeah,
and that's where
maybe that's why there's so many cameras in the room.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it seems to be whoever's looking for it knows that it can only be caught from... And it maybe never knows which one. It depends what it is and when it's coming, kind of thing.
They make a point of telling us even they don't know who owns this building and who's, this millionaire is.
It's mysterious, yeah, and they can't find any of the guards. Like, they're all missing.
Yeah, which obviously we saw a little bit of.
We saw the one, yeah, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I imagine there's maybe one down at the door as well, and maybe there's other guys who take shifts, but they're all missing. Like
Yeah.
every single one of them, they say. So no, very very interesting. Uh, so yeah, so they get a phone call, about Agent Cooper, which of course makes both of them go, "Oh shit! Come on, Albert, let's go." They go through his office. And I want to point out that Gordon Cole has a nuclear bomb detonation as his a big painting of a nuclear bomb going off behind his desk. Something about that amused me. I don't know what.
It's kind of a worrying symbolism, though, isn't it? Like he sits in front of the bomb, like he's got his back to it.
Maybe that's a sign of confidence. Like he's the last line of defense against the end of the world.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
but maybe he just wouldn't hear it.
Maybe, but I like the idea that like this case about this box comes to him because he's the one who's known for the Blue Rose cases.
Yeah.
Kind of idea.
If it's strange, it goes to him.
Yeah, he's the Mulder, if you will, of the FBI. Except he's respected and not seen as like a little shit that should be in the basement. So obviously they get a call about the Cooper, and we hear them say, "Okay, we're going to South Dakota," which means it is Doppel Cooper they're going to because he was in Dakota.
Yes.
And that's kind of that's the end of the episode because we cut to the bar and there's a song playing, but it plays out for the credits.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that we cut to the bar again for the end song.
I feel like I may just do that every episode now until the ending.
I'm thinking it might as well. Like that'll be, instead of having a closing credits song, it'll just be a band playing at the bar.
And maybe sometimes there'll be a scene in the bar to lead into it, and sometimes in this case there wasn't.
Yeah, we just got the reflection of the sign in the puddle.
Yeah, I want reflections, other other sides of things. Yeah. They can keep doing that all they want. It works really well. I also think it's just a fun way. I imagine all the bands that are going to pop up are probably fans of the show.
You have to assume so.
Yeah, and it's just a fun way of like giving a lot of them cameos and just being like, and it's not intrusive because it is just over the credits, so it's not like.
Yeah.
So. I enjoyed episode 3. Obviously, it got even weirder than the last two. I will say this: I think every single episode so far has benefited from a second watch.
Interesting.
Because I feel like going through it a second time, knowing where the episode goes, I put pieces together just a little bit more than I was before.
I wish I had the time, but unfortunately,
obviously.
I do not.
Well, the reason why I have the time is because I watch it and then I'm waiting for you to watch it, so I'll just watch it again.
Pretty much.
Because otherwise I wouldn't watch it twice, I would just go straight into it. But there is this odd benefit of doing it this way. So, no, that's episode 3. We will have episode 4 tomorrow. Obviously, there's some things that we couldn't speculate too much on. Like, I feel like the mother-daughters thing, we tried to go somewhere with that, but, like, I'm still fascinated. I'm fascinated that, like, this place was stuttering, like, so extremely. Like, it was so out of sync with reality.
But it was. Out of sync is the exact phrase I used.
And then, the lever gets pulled and it stabilizes. It stabilizes long enough for Cooper to get out. I like the idea that maybe if Cooper tried to get out while it was all fractured, that it wouldn't have went through properly. It would have messed him up. Because we see how fractured he is mind-wise when he gets out as it was.
Yeah.
What would it have been like, where his brain would just get fried on the way out?
I feel like the shoes are quite symbolic as well. Like the idea that, he left his shoes behind, but like maybe, kind of left his mind with them.
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like, because obviously he walks a lot, and you gotta, like that was the whole thing with, especially with Briggs. He went on the hikes and stuff into the forests. So maybe there is something there.
Maybe. But no, I think it's obviously weird imagery. First 20 minutes had almost no dialogue. It was just super concentrated, weird Lynch, but. Everything had like something in there where you're like, okay, I'm looking for the meaning. There's something, the man thinks his shit through, and it clearly all of it's there. So I am looking forward to more clues, piecing some of this stuff together. Obviously, we didn't get any of like some of the other characters we got in the first two. Like, we didn't see James, we didn't see Shelley, and so on.
I imagine we'll get some of those in 4, just because obviously these are airing as a double.
Yeah.
So I imagine that they kind of pair
Possibly.
up nicely in that sense.
Again, going back to something we've said a few times, I think that they're saving a lot of that stuff for when Cooper's back in the town, and then that's when we're going to get a lot more of the old characters on a more regular basis. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it'll be so obtuse the whole way through, but it feels like that's probably where it's heading.
Yeah, it's possible.
if Cooper's going to defeat the evil doppelganger, defeat Bob and send him back to hell, as it were.
Yeah.
So, no. Any final thoughts before I say my goodbyes?
I will just say it definitely feels like those first two were not an anomalous fluke in terms of how long we're going to talk about these. Because there's always a danger where, it's a first episode, we go a bit longer.
Oh, yeah. Hey, to be fair, we went 2 hours. It was like an even 60 minutes per hour, so we're actually slightly shorter because we're...
What, 55?
Yeah, 55, so that's a bit of an improvement.
I mean, sure, but I think we're learning. We can typically expect around an hour for every episode.
And hopefully that's enjoyable. Hopefully you don't feel like we're padding this out or it's too much. I feel like I don't feel like we're tangenting, certainly. It feels fairly on point.
Yeah, I feel obligated to just do it for everything and go through everything in detail because it all might be relevant.
We don't know we don't know what's going to be important, what's not, and I feel like there's so much symbolism, there's so much like callbacks to things and names popping up and these numbers that are appearing that we just have to dissect it. So there we go. That's episode 3. Episode 4 will be tomorrow, sometime tomorrow night. So look forward to that. And I'm kind of glad we left it till now because it means I only have to wait a week for episode 5 rather than having to wait 2 full weeks, which would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, it's worse, isn't it?
So thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and see some of the cool bonuses over there if you want to support us. But otherwise, guys, thank you very much for watching. Once again, have we got any vanilla?